Major League Baseball, MLB, is a professional baseball league and the highest level of organized baseball in the United States and Canada. One of the big four major leagues, MLB comprises 30 teams, divided equally between the National League, NL, and the American League, AL, with 29 in the United States and 1 in Canada. Formed in 1876 and 1901, respectively, the NL and AL cemented their cooperation with the National Agreement in 1903, making MLB the oldest major professional sports league in the world. They remained legally separate entities until 2000, when they merged into a single organization led by the Commissioner of Baseball. MLB is headquartered in Midtown Manhattan. Baseball's first all-professional team, the Cincinnati Red Stockings, was founded in 1869. The first few decades of professional baseball saw rivalries between leagues, and players often jumped from one team or league to another. These practices were essentially ended by the National Agreement of 1903, in which AL and NL agreed to respect each other's player contracts, including the contentious reserve clause. The period before 1920 was the dead ball era, when home runs were rarely hit. Professional baseball was rocked by the Black Sox scandal, a conspiracy to fix the 1919 World Series. Baseball survived the scandal, albeit with major changes in its governance, as the relatively weak National Commission was replaced with a powerful Commissioner of Baseball with near unlimited authority over the sport. MLB rose in popularity in the decade following the Black Sox scandal, and unlike major leagues in other sports, it endured the Great Depression and World War II without any of its teams folding. Shortly after the war, Jackie Robinson broke baseball's color barrier. The AL and NL added clubs in the 1950s and 1960s, and some moved to different cities. Player discontent with established labor practices, especially the reserve clause, led to the organization of the Major League Baseball Players Association to collectively bargain with the owners, which in turn led to the introduction of free agency in baseball. Modern stadiums with artificial turf surfaces began to change the game in the 1970s and 1980s. Home runs dominated the game during the 1990s. In the mid-2000s, media reports disclosed the use of anabolic steroids among MLB players. A 2006-07 investigation produced the Mitchell Report, which found that many players had used steroids and other performance-enhancing substances, including at least one player from each team. Each team plays 162 games per season, with opening day traditionally held during the first week of April. 6 teams in each league then advanced to a 4-round postseason tournament in October, culminating in the World Series, a best-of-7 championship series between the two league champions first played in 1903. The New York Yankees have the most championships with 27. The reigning champions are the Texas Rangers, who defeated the Arizona Diamondbacks in the 2023 World Series. MLB is the second wealthiest professional sport league by revenue after the National Football League, NFL. Baseball games are broadcast on television, radio, and the internet throughout North America and in several other countries. MLB has the highest total season attendance of any sports league in the world. In 2018, it drew more than 69.6 million spectators. MLB also oversees minor league baseball, which comprises lower-tier teams affiliated with the major league clubs. MLB and the World Baseball Softball Confederation jointly manage the International World Baseball Classic Tournament. Dead ball era. The period between 1900 and 1919 is commonly referred to as the dead ball era. Games of this era tended to be low-scoring and were often dominated by pitchers, such as Walter Johnson, Cy Young, Christy Mathewson, Mordecai Brown, and Grover Cleveland Alexander. The term also accurately describes the condition of the baseball itself. The baseball used American rather than the modern Australian wool yarn and was not wound as tightly, affecting the distance that it would travel. More significantly, balls were kept in play until they were mangled, soft, and sometimes lopsided. During this era, a baseball cost $3, equal to $52.72 today, in inflation-adjusted USD, and owners were reluctant to purchase new balls. Fans were expected to throw back fouls and rare home runs. Baseballs also became stained with tobacco juice, grass, and mud, and sometimes the juice of licorice, which some players would chew for the purpose of discoloring the ball. Also, pitchers could manipulate the ball through the use of the spitball. In 1921, use of this pitch was restricted to a few pitchers with a grandfather clause. Additionally, many ballparks had large dimensions, such as the West Side grounds of the Chicago Cubs, which was 560 feet 170 mm to the center field fence, and the Huntington Avenue grounds of the Boston Red Sox, which was 635 feet, 194 m to the center field fence. Thus, home runs were rare, and small ball tactics such as singles, bunts, stolen bases, and the hit-and-run play dominated the strategies of the time. Hitting methods like the Baltimore chop were used to increase the number of infield singles. On a successful Baltimore chop, the batter hits the ball forcefully into the ground, causing it to bounce so high that the batter reaches first base before the ball can be fielded and thrown to the first baseman. The adoption of the foul strike rule in the NL in 1901, in the AL 2 years later, quickly sent baseball from a high-scoring game to one where scoring runs became a struggle. Before this rule, foul balls were not counted as strikes. A batter could foul off any number of pitches with no strikes counted against him. This gave an enormous advantage to the batter. After the 1919 World Series between the Chicago White Sox and Cincinnati Reds, baseball was rocked by allegations of a game-fixing scheme known as the Black Sox Scandal. 8 players, Shoeless Joe Jackson, Eddie Saccott, Claude Lefty Williams, George Buck Weaver, Arnold Chick Gandil, Fred McMullen, Charles Swede Risberg, and Oscar Happy Felsch, intentionally lost the World Series in exchange for a ring worth $100,000, $712, $780, $35, and $22. Despite being acquitted, all were permanently banned from Major League Baseball. Please subscribe, like, and comment for the next video you want to see.